All right, so we're going to do
Yes.
the podcast interview.
The podcast interview. What does that mean? What's that one about again? My life?
Yeah. No. We talked about your life on a previous podcast, and it wasn't very good.
Didn't sell anything.
Nobody
No
was
bites. No bites. Views 2.
So if you could make up something more interesting.
Okay. I'll talk about somebody else's life. I'm here to talk about somebody else's life.
No, we're going to talk about the festival.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about Mexico and your relationship to Mexico and then leading up to the festival.
Okay. Wonderful.
I need you to introduce yourself and...
Hi, I'm David Rotundo. I'm a musician, and I'm here to talk about the Caravan Blues Tour.
Okay, we're done. Thank you very much.
That's right. Fucking, oh my goodness. Hard day at the office.
So where is the Caravan Blues Tour taking place?
It's taking place in the state of Oaxaca in Huatulco. It's starting in Huatulco, Mexico.
And this is in January.
This is in January.
So before we get into the details of this festival, I need you to tell me why you live in Mexico now. I don't think we've ever talked about that.
Okay, well, it was a slow evolution. I went there the first time the year 2000 in January with Jack de Kaiser. We were invited by a fan of his to do some shows there. We went there in 2000 for a week. And then other than the following year, I didn't go back. But then after that, I continued to return every year. So I've been there every year since 2002 until 2024 now.
Like 22 years or 21 years?
20, almost 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Never would have anticipated that. We literally went for a week. It sounded like a great thing to do at the time. It was a very good time. We had a great time. The energy there was amazing. We felt it right away. And it was a wonderful experience. And then I didn't have the chance to make it back next year because I was releasing a record and I was very busy. And then after that, I went back the following year and continued to go there for the music for about, the next 20 years.
But, okay, so tell me about that energy. Tell me about what you saw and what you felt when you first went down there.
Well, one of the first things that happened was, because it is a very kind of bohemian town, but we started noticing that we'd introduce ourselves to people and say, hi, oh, you're from Canada. And you'd say, oh, yeah, how long are you here for? And he said, well, I came here for a week 5 years ago. And we're like, that was a strange response. And then somebody else, the next person, hi, how you doing? Oh, yeah, I'm from this part of the world. I came here for 2 days, 3 years ago. And I haven't left. And we're like, really? This seems to be a theme. And I could see why. It has some sort of, there's places on this planet that they say, whether it's Sedona, Arizona, or Algonquin Park, that have this sort of magneticism to it. I think Puerto is one of them. Okay,
so you go and play down there, and obviously you build a fan base. But how do you come to the decision of moving down to Mexico?
That was a slow process. I was just going there, once a year for a week, and I looked forward to it, and I thought I looked forward to leaving, actually. It was like I wasn't big on beaches and hanging around and just just being a man of leisure. So I was like, okay, I'll just go down for a week, do some shows, and then I'll be ready to leave after a week. But after about 4 or 5 years, I noticed that I didn't want to get on the plane. And I thought, okay, something strange is happening. It's because it's a place where really, there's not much bells and whistles to it. It's a very simple, rustic place. And I thought, okay, well, next year I'm going to come for 2 weeks, and I'm sure I'll be sick of it, and I'll want to leave. And I booked 2 weeks, and I was going. I'm sure I probably won't even make it to 2 weeks with not wanting to get back on the plane. But again, when it came time to fly, I was thinking, I don't want to leave yet. I'm not ready to leave yet. So I thought, okay, something is happening. So next time I come, I'm going to book for 3 weeks. That was my logic behind it. So I booked for 3 weeks. I came, and sure enough, the same thing happened. And that year, I changed it to 5 weeks. And I thought, for sure, after 5 weeks, I will be sick of this place. There's nothing to do here, really. I mean,
But it is Mexico in January.
And yes, it is. So, yeah, and fair enough. I mean, at that point, I'd already done a lot of cross-Canada tours. We were getting some some good gigs across Canada, but this is a really difficult, challenging, super challenging country to tour in winters. You know, your life is always on the line. You feel like, and you're never going to make it in time. It's always going to be a snowstorm, or then after the gig you're going to be sweating, and you have to load the van, and you're sweating to the death of you, and you're getting a cold. I mean, it's just a hard place to tour. So I was saying, okay, well, this is not bad. I could just kind of be there a little longer. And then 5 weeks turned into 2 months, which turned into me applying for a temporary residency, which is a 4-year process. And then that, I thought, I'm not even going to see this through. Like, I'm sure I'm going to get sick of this place and this whole idea of this, but it turned into a permanent residency. So now I spend at least half of the year there.
Okay, so as a musician, and you travel to various places, you tour in Europe and all that, but how difficult was that decision to uproot your life, move down to Mexico? And I know you don't have to introduce yourself to that audience because you obviously have a bit of a following by playing down there, but to uproot your life and then move to Mexico and start your career again down there.
I guess, I don't know if it's by default. I don't know if it's by laziness or if it's not by attention or design. But I just never thought of it that way. I never thought of that external factor being that important. It was always more about making sure that I felt like I was in the right place for myself.
So not necessarily musically or business wise, but just for your state.
And art obviously, whether people can sense that or not, it takes a driver's seat in my life. So I like to clear as much space as I possibly can to be around art, whether that's books or music or sculpture or architecture or poetry or things like that. So I found that part of Mexico and Mexico in general and that sort of environment, I found it very conducive to being friendly with that inside me, that I needed that artistic closeness.
So give me an example of that. What does that mean?
These are deep questions, Marco. You never cease to amaze me. I love it. It's something about the fabric, I guess, of the town. I mean, Puerto Escondido actually means hidden port. So it used to be a little fishing village. Nothing was going on there. They didn't have a hotel there in 1970. You know, no one was going there. So it was very wild. And then as it did grow, it grew kind of very, very, very artistically and very kind of like Sanford and Sons ish, you know what I mean? Like little, things popping up here and there, and very, very, very naturally and unpretentiously. So that fabric and that being around that, to me, being that earthy and connected to that energy was very important to me.
Okay, so you still think, okay, I'm going to go back to Canada and do my Canadian tours, do my Ontario tours or whatever every year, maybe twice a year, maybe do some gigs in Europe once a year.
Yep.
Do you attempt to grow your audience in Mexico and Central America?
You see, I know that's a tricky question because I really don't, and I don't mean it because I'm a hell of a guy or I'm not thinking about growing an audience, but I really don't look at it that way. If it happens, it happens, and great. And sure, you love to connect to as many people as you can, but I don't sit back behind a desk and a blueprint and think, how can I conquer this external audience? If that makes sense. I love playing in front of people and for people that are avid, but I never I sat down and said, where can I go and make the biggest splash, for example?
So
if anything, I'd be like, man, I'm really not going to make a splash here. I mean, there's nobody around. How can I be heard? If anything, people are probably poking me and saying, you're going somewhere where no one's going to be.
But you never thought that way from the very beginning of your career? Like, you never thought about, I need to grow my audience and I need to.
I digress. You called me out. One time I did, and I'm going to send this out to the public here for all you listeners, and you want to know how to make it. I'll give you the recipe. Here's what it was. Obviously, you want to play, and you want to play in front of, you want to play to people, if you can. And one time I would go to the Beaches Jazz Festival every year when I was knocking on doors to play anywhere. I mean, I'd tell people, we'll pay to play here. Just let us do anything, mop your floors, and but to get indoors was difficult, whether you were good or not. So I remember one time sitting on the street at the Beaches Jazz Festival and watching all the people and listening to all the bands. And I thought to myself, that one moment, it was one thing I said, if I could get on this street as a working musician, as a band, I made it. I honestly thought that. I thought if I could get on this street, I basically can say I made it. How naive!
Well, no, really. I mean, we're talking about the Toronto Beaches Jazz Festival, and when you got the street gig from Thursday till Saturday or whatever, you could sell a lot of CDs back then.
Yeah, and again, it wasn't because I wasn't after that, say, brass ring, but to me, the energy of it was so compelling to see people enjoying themselves walking and enjoying themselves listening to music, and the band's enjoying people walking by, and all. To me, it just seemed like this is what life is all about, actually. So if I could get a part of this, I've just, I discovered what life is all about. I mean, to me, it was almost that simple. I was like, what else is life about? This is great. People are eating, they're walking, they're listening to music. Bands are, musicians are kind of working. I'm sure they're making some money to eat, and everybody's having a great time. To me, it was the answer to life.
Okay, but you've also played Russia, you've also played Estonia and Italy, and how does that happen if you don't reach out and try to expand your audience?
Oh, they were reaching to me. My phone was ringing, Margo. I mean, I was like, dring, dring, dring. No, I hear what you're saying. You do. You knock on doors, but these things that people say, it's not what you know, who you know. A lot of that stuff comes into play. It's people like you. They call you. They wiggle the door a little bit and it opens. It's whether it's fortunate that the industry or this artistic world is like that, or unfortunate, I'm not sure, but definitely that has a massive part to whether or not you're playing places, as it would have whether or not you're not. I mean, unfortunately, politics and people's either erroneous zones or greeds or inhibitions, they ring out, and you're either stopped from playing or you're promoted to play. And I was fortunate enough to have a handful of people that would try to just wiggle doors open for me.
Okay, so you moved down to Mexico. How does that affect who you are and the music you make?
Wow, another surface question. Another. How many months do we have? Again.
Or does it?
It does. It's someone once told me about blues. He was really listened to old blues, and he read old literature, and he told me something that I couldn't deny, and I was like, whether or not I'm ever going to achieve it. But he said, you have to stay close to the people and the people that are really on the dirt, the simple people. You have to stay close to them if you're going to write anything that has any value or any way to connect to people. You have to be close to the people. So this part of Mexico and the way Canada was, 50 years ago, even I caught maybe the tail end of it. There was a closeness. There was a feeling. Christmas had a feel. School had a feel. Get-togethers had a feel. Pool halls had a feel. Bars had a feel. little card joints had a feel. And quite honestly, I mean, I don't know if I'm being nostalgic or dating myself, or I'm becoming a fuddle duddle or something. I think I miss that feel. I miss that feel. That was massively important to me. Sometimes I think I wish I didn't even feel that, because I don't want to know how great that felt, because now I don't feel that anymore. You know, we have, as Henry Miller would say, all these comforts that are making us so uncomfortable. And we got all these gadgets and things that are replacing feel to me. You know, whether it was analog being replaced by digital, less feel. You know, a computer screen being, replaced, going and watching someone sweat in front of you, less feel. So I wanted to go back to where I felt that stuff. And that's what I found in Puerto Escondido. Because,
okay. So now you're starting to put together a festival.
Mm-hmm.
This is different from the festival you went to every year.
Yeah, and first of all, it's not really a festival. It's a musical experience on wheels, kind of. It's not like a festival going to be in the same place over and over. It might have little abutments that appear annually, but it's just a platform at the moment to get this Caravan Blues tour off the ground, which will be a moving picture.
Okay, so tell me about this first Caravan Blues tour that you're starting in January 16th and 17th of 2024.
Yeah, or the 17th and 18th. I'm not sure. We're going to cover all the dates just in case one person will get it right. So it was because I've done so much work there. I've played so much there. I do have an ear to many people, and the people that I'm working with are there. It's a big project. It's a lot of work. So it seemed like the thing to do, to do it in Huatulco and Puerto Escondido, where I've been hanging my hat for the last 3-4 years.
Okay, so how did that idea start?
It started, well, I mean, I've been carrying it around in my pocket since many years, I guess. You know, since it started not being continued by the people that initially brought us down there. They stopped doing it. So there was one year where people were inquiring about it, and they were always inquiring me because they knew me. They say, when is the festival? I said, I don't think it's happening this year. They wanted music. So I spoke to the person who initially brought us down. I said, do I have your blessing to continue this if you don't want to? Like, are you going to do it? He said, no, I'm not going to do it. I said, well, do I have your blessing? I'd like your blessing. You mind if I do it? I'll give a crack at it. You know, I'm here. And I've collected a lot of ideas and probably artistic nuances that I like to see that maybe sometimes are missing in other venues or other places that I play. So I thought that I would be someone that could offer something.
Okay, so it isn't that festival. It's something else. This is something that you want to take on the road. But tell me what makes it different, and what is your idea behind this?
It makes it different because I want to change the entire paradigm of this planet.
It's about time.
But you're gonna have to. I know, Margaret. You're going, David. Man, I'm gonna have to edit all this stuff. I'm sorry, but I want life to be fun. As I want this caravan experience to be fun. It's gonna be a house band again. Nothing really new. I'm not inventing a blueprint. No one's inventing the wheel here. But I would like to center around and focus more on and give more attention to a fun experience where there's moving parts. It's not just not bands coming in, doing an hour set and leaving. I would like to see a lot more camaraderie. I'd like to see a lot more exchanges between artists. Have time to have exchanges amongst each other, because I know when I go on tour, all you're thinking about is yourself. You're thinking about is yourself, your set, how you get in, how you get out. You don't meet anybody. You usually don't have time to go see other shows. And I feel that that's a waste. It's a missed opportunity, so to speak. I feel we it's more to our advantage if we can exchange with other artists and stuff like that. So I'm really trying to implement this. And for anyone out there, don't be stealing my ideas.
Okay, so You think it would be nice to exchange ideas, and you decide that you wanted to hire a few different musicians.
Yes. So, like, for example, this year we have the Prado brothers, who I've worked with and I toured with in Brazil. They're coming from some Sao Paulo, Brazil. They're coming. Steve Strongman is coming from Toronto, Hamilton, Canada. And Jimmy Z is coming from Los Angeles, California. We're all going to be there at the same time, and we're all going to have time to spend together and exchange and have some fun moments. And I might even, who knows, the last minute surprise people with throwing people on each other's stages and stuff like that. Just I feel I feel it's usually a good added spice when something like that happens.
So I found that in the blues world and in the classical world, a lot of people create festivals so they can invite other festival creators to play at their festivals so they can play at their festivals. Have you thought about that?
Like scratching somebody's back so they scratch mine? Yes. Oh, of course. I hope because I do this, everyone's going to invite me to every festival around the world, because I'm telling you, man, it's really hard to knock so hard on doors.
I was just kidding.
No, I hear you. Of course, you would love for that stuff to happen. And again, I mean, I'm not putting down or being dismissive of the way festivals run. I get it. I get how they have to be time sensitive and operate things in a certain manner. I feel what I'd love to try to do is to open it up a little more. I mean, and have it a little more abstract and not so linear and not so decided on how things go.
So when you approach the musicians, whether it be the Prado Brothers or Steve Strongman or Jimmy Z, how open are they to the idea?
That's the other thing. I mean, obviously, I have to be a little I have to use a little bit of perspicuity on who I'm going to call. I know if somebody they don't feel comfortable not playing with their own band. I know a lot of people do that. They want to have their own band. They want to know. They want to be in a comfort zone, and that's fine. That's great. I like to see people out of their comfort zone, and I like to I like to be out of my comfort zone as much as you like to be rehearsed. But so I talk to the people that I think would be receptive to that, and that's probably how I'm going to go about it.
Okay, so how do you measure success with this?
How do I measure success with this?
Yeah, like, I mean, what do you hope to attain or achieve with this? And then how would you know that this is something worth pursuing and doing it again next year, making it bigger?
Obviously, how much money I make. No, that's being sardonical. 100%. Honestly, to me, it's all about the feeling. If it feels great, if everybody feels great when they left, whether that's the staff, whether that's the people that helped out on the sideline, whether it's the musicians, whether it's the people that attended and bought tickets, if the goal is that everyone leaves feeling good.
Now, is the goal to also? I don't know who your audience base is.
I don't either.
Is it the people?
We have an audience? Is there going to be an audience in this? Oh, my goodness.
Like,
yeah.
is it the locals? Okay. Or are you hoping, like, I know some people coming from Canada.
It's everyone. Fair enough question. Because, look, Huatulco and Puerto Escondido, they were very much secrets, 20, 30 years ago. And now they're not anymore. I mean, I remember one time, over 10 years ago, I was doing some exercise in my living room, and I was listening to Q107, and who's it that's Mac? Who's the DJ on Q107? My goodness, I'm sorry, it's slipping my name. He was in Max Webster.
Oh,
Kim Mitchell. And I was skipping in my living room, and he's like, and anyway, new destination is Puerto Escondido, and I almost tripped. I was like, no, he didn't just say that. Don't let this cat out of the bag, because it was a mystery and a sort of a secret. Now it's not anymore. So there's people that come from all over the world to Huatulco. It is a great place to spend a week or a weekend or a couple weeks or a couple months. Many people go there for 3, 4, or 5 months. So there are people from all over the world there. So we're going to try to tap in, obviously, to anyone who's interested in this.
Okay, so thinking that you want to put on this, not a festival, but this musical event, to actually doing it, what have you learned in the process?
I'm crazy. I must be crazy to do this. No, you learn a lot about, you know, public relations and working with people, and of course, you know, being in a different backyard, it's you have to do things a bit differently. So it's a bit of a there's many learning curves. But otherwise, you know, especially, you know, the right-hand man, or I'm left-hand man, the person I'm working with directly, he's fantastic. And the team is growing kind of naturally. That's been great. And it's definitely great to immediately have this the support and the sort of endorsement of guys like the Prado Brothers, Jimmy Z, who's played with literally everybody. I mean, I just found out the guy did a record with Ringo Starr on drums. I mean, how many people can say that? You know, so to have their confidence and them saying yes to come, that's already almost a victory, you know.
And
Steve Strongman, of course, and he just got nominated for a Grammy, I heard. So this is wonderful stuff.
When you say it's a caravan and you're hoping to take it to places, how do you see that happening?
Well, because for sure, Mexico to me is very uncharted. There's many places that I really love, that I love to go around, and this idea of basically a backing band and a couple different faces fronting the band, which again is not a new concept, but whether it's myself and Steve Strongman, and it is a bit of a different sound. You know, believe it or not, when you change one person, the band and the sound and the music will change a little. And now things, again, to speak more transparently, and if we haven't noticed, it's tough to travel and play this music. I mean, people are really pinching pennies, and to get a band to go, you know, just one band to go play in a festival for 1 hour and come back. I mean, how much money does that take? But if you can say, well, look, we're going to come and we're going to give you 3 hours of music, and we don't need 20 hotel rooms, you know, we only need 5 because we're all, you know, we're one package. Maybe there might be some wisdom on the other end, the receiving end, to comply to that.
Okay, so where can people find out about this information, about your event?
Caravan Blues Tour. Yeah, I think there's a website that I never go to. Sorry.
Do we have a website name or URL?
I believe it's Caravan Blues Tour.
.com?
Yeah, .com, yes. Okay. That's how hip I am. You lead it. Cut! Get out of here! Send me a name next time. We don't work with people like this.
Who is this bozo?
Yeah, who does this guy think? You know who I think I am? Well, here's a quote. I mean, I heard that it might be a Shakespeare one that said, "Politicians tell lies to cover up the truth. Artists tell lies to uncover the truth." I'm an aspiring artist.
Nicely done.
Churchill could be.
Well, who is it?
That's a good question. I don't know. All you listeners out there on Google, tell us who it is.
Well, David, I
Yes.
hope this works out. I know you've been working really hard on it, and I hope it works out and becomes whatever it is that you want it to be. And I wish you all the luck.
Thank you, and thank you, Marco and Bruce, for coming here. Like, I mean, you guys know the money you're making to do this, right? I mean, it's really we go way back, money. But I always love. I mean, I take you as one of the greatest interviewers of all time, and that's the way I feel about you, and I'm happy we have this long relationship. So thank you very much for coming down and doing this.
You're too kind.
It means a lot to me. No, you're too kind.
Thank you.